Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 9. I am Dadi Raffi Atala.
I am Furkanesal.
My name is Anam Resul Jafid.
In this special occasion, we are going to provide an explanation about international migration and answer several questions about Indonesian migration diplomacy in the international world.
Immigration is now a cross-border that requires international coordination, especially in the era of globalization and high human environment. Indonesia is actively establishing bilateral cooperation with countries such as Malaysia and Australia. In the visa protection and handling illegal migration and the regional level, Indonesia is actively involved in Asian forums such as DGI, AIFF, and AMISF to synergize immigration policies and strengthen information sharing system between Southeast Asian countries. In multilateral forums, Indonesia participated in IOM, UNHCR, and DCM to provide domestic policy principles of safe and orderly international migration. Indonesia's immigration diplomacy also emphasizes the security aspect to cooperation with Interpol and NDC in handling human smuggling. However, challenges arise from difference in laws between countries and inequality in negotiations. Therefore, inclusive immigration diplomacy approach involving non-state actors such as NGOs and the diaspora is important to bridge national interest and protection of migrant rights.
Give me initial strategy in balancing national interest and international norms in immigration policy. Indonesia firmly places sovereignty as the basis of immigration policy. In the context, the government has full authority to determine who may enter and reside in this territory. Visa and residence permit policies are designed to protect national security, social stability, and domestic economic interests. This is evident in the selective visa category regulation, strict administrative recruitments and monitoring mechanism for foreigners in Indonesia is in place of law number 6 of 2011 during immigration. It states immigration is matters relating to the movement of people entering or leaving of territory of Indonesia and its supervision in order to maintain order and law enforcement. Article 1 number 1 law number 6 of 2011. This approach so that Indonesia places immigration as a strategic domestic matter closely linked to issues of national security, social stability, and economic interest. Despite upholding the principle of sovereignty, Indonesia does not close itself off from international legal commitments. One example is the application of the principle of non-refoulement, even though Indonesia has not ratified the 1951 Convention of Refugees as stated in Presidential Regulation number 125 of 2016. Refugees from abroad who are in Indonesian territory are placed and by upholding humanitarian principles and are not returned to their country of origin if the face of the risk of persecution.
The second question, should Indonesia ratify the 1951 Refugee Convention? Argument critical. The answer is, Indonesia is not a party to the 1951 Convention on the Status of Refugees or the 1967 Protocol. However, Indonesia continues to accept refugees and asylum seekers in its territory, even though it is not yet bound by international law to the refugee protection standards set out in the Convention. There are two arguments from us regarding the view whether Indonesia should ratify the 1951 Refugee Convention or not. The supporting arguments is the first one, legal certainty and protection of human rights. Ratification of the 1951 Convention will provide a clear and binding legal framework for the treatment of refugees in Indonesia. Currently, the arrangements are based on limited national regulations and do not provide permanent legal status for refugees. According to Harkis Nowo, criminal law and human rights expert in the University of Indonesia's Human Rights Seminar 2018, ratification of the 1951 Convention will strengthen Indonesia's commitment to protecting human rights, especially the rights to asylum and non-refoulement. The second supporting argument is strengthening Indonesia's diplomatic position. As an active member of the UN and initiator of various international human rights forums, ratification will increase Indonesia's credibility in the international community and demonstrate a concrete commitment to the principle of refugee protection. The third supporting argument is conformity with the 1945 Constitution and the Human Rights Law. Article 28G, paragraph 2 of the 1945 Constitution states, everyone has the right to be free from torture or treatment that degrades human dignity and has the right to obtain political asylum from another country. This shows that the principle of asylum has been constitutionally recognized. In addition, Law Number 39 of 1999 concerning human rights, Article 26 states, everyone who is in the territory of Indonesia has the right to legal protection without discrimination. The arguments against: the first one, potential economic and social burden. Ratification could open the possibility of a large influx of refugees, which some observers say would be an economic and social burden on the country. According to Prof. Hikmahanto Juwana, an international law expert from UI, before ratifying, the government must prepare a system and resources to manage the impact of incoming refugees. Without that, ratification could actually backfire. The second argument against: absence of national mechanism for resettlement. To date, Indonesia has no permanent mechanism for resolving refugee status, as refugees are only considered as transit before being relocated by UNHCR to a third country. In Presidential Regulation Number 125 of 2016 concerning handling of refugees from abroad, it is explained that handling of refugees is temporary until there is a solution from UNHCR. This shows that Indonesia still relies on international bodies in long-term handling of refugees. So, ratification without institutional readiness could be ineffective. Thank you.
Question number 3. Desire an ideal regional immigration cooperation model for ASEAN. Goals and principles to be achieved. Number 1. Ensuring safe, orderly, and legal mobility. Next, protecting the rights of migrants, refugees, and transnational workers. Number 3. Implementing the principle of non-refoulement and international protection. Number 4. Strengthening surveillance of human trafficking and human smuggling. Number 2. Structure of cooperation model. And the first step, ASEAN Regional Immigration National Framework. The key of proposal: a new institution or body under the ASEAN Secretariat with the following function. The first function is coordination of immigration policies between countries. Number 2, shared database of refugees and illegal migrants. 3, early detection and rapid response system for migration crisis. Last, burden sharing scheme. The second organization is Regional Asylum Mechanism for establishing of a regional refugee status determination or RSD mechanism by ASEAN, not just UNHCR. Each country established a national focal point and representative of this body. The third organization is Mutual Recognition Agreement or MRA. In the mobility sector, the extension of MRA is not only for professional workers but also for semi-skilled or unskilled migrants, and harmonization of visas, temporary stay permits, and work permits between ASEAN countries.
Discuss the relation between migration diplomacy and foreign policy. The relationship between migration diplomacy and foreign policy is very close because both influence each other in the context of managing relationships between countries, protecting citizens abroad, and upholding national sovereignty amidst global dynamics. Migration diplomacy is an important instrument in implementing a country's foreign policy, especially to shape national interests through managing immigration flows safely, orderly, and humanely. According to Jadis Maru and Saunader, 2020, migration diplomacy is part of the externalization of migration policy, namely the state efforts to regulate migration through cross-border cooperation as part of its foreign policy strategy. In the Indonesian context, this can be seen from Indonesia's active role in the ASEAN Forum bilateral cooperation, such as MOU with Malaysia in ending undocumented migration. Ms. Bates, 2017 said that Indonesia's approach to migration diplomacy is pragmatic ethics. It tries to balance normative international pressure such as human rights protection with national sovereignty and security interests. This shows that migration diplomacy is a manifestation of how a country navigates its foreign policy in dealing with the global issue.
The fifth point, the evaluation of the effectiveness of Indonesia's international cooperation in handling undocumented migration. Indonesia has demonstrated a strong commitment to addressing undocumented migration through various forms of international cooperation, both bilaterally, regionally, and multilaterally. Some achievements that reflect its effectiveness include bilateral cooperation, the regional cooperation in Asia, and multilateral forum. However, the effectiveness of Indonesia's international cooperation still faces various structural and political obstacles, such as power imbalance in negotiations, differences between legal systems and human rights standards, coordination between domestic institutions. Ms. Batch notes that Indonesia's approach to undocumented migration tends to be reactive and pragmatic, depending on international pressure or diplomatic escalation. He argues that protection of migrants is often sidelined by political and economic agendas. The positive evaluation is the existence of consistent communication and coordination channels between Indonesia and partner countries shows that this cooperation is effective in creating a legal framework for migration and reducing bilateral conflicts due to undocumented migration. The negative evaluation is international cooperation has not been fully effective in addressing the root causes of undocumented migration, such as weak access to legal migration channels, minimal protection for migrant worker abroad, and a lack of migration education at the local level. That's all the explanation from us regarding the international migration and Indonesian migration diplomacy in the international world. Thank you for hearing us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.